And to further discuss the benefits and increased cooperation as a result of the Belt and Road Initiative, we are joined via Zoom by Ganeshan Wignaraja, a visiting senior fellow at ODI Global Affairs think tank. He's joining us from Colombo. Ganeshan, thank you for joining us on the program. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping has outlined 8 key areas for high-quality cooperation, from building a comprehensive belt and road connectivity network to promoting green development to advancing scientific and technological innovation. What are your thoughts on these approaches?
So I think the overall approach certainly meets the issue of the polycrisis world economy that we are in. That is a world economy that is slowing in growth as well as increasing divergences. And this world economy may grow at some 2.9% next year, hit by these geopolitical tensions that we see, particularly in the Middle East. Now, Africa does a bit better, probably growing at 4%, which is an increase on last year. In terms of President Xi's areas, I think 3 or 4 of them matter more, perhaps, than others. The green transition, I think, is a very important one, given the existential problem of climate change and disasters that are afflicting much of Africa, but indeed other parts of the developing world. Then there is the area of technology that he also talks about, particularly building exchanges between researchers and labs, as well as taking governance of AI. And I think that's tremendously important for African countries to attempt to leapfrog into the advanced 21st century. The final area that I think is terribly important is the issue of integrity. Some BRI projects have been criticized in the past for lacking some elements of integrity, and the new framework he proposes will be very good, as well as the important institutional strengthening framework. So I think these areas are perhaps what are critical in this very ambitious rework of the BRI initiative going forward for Africa and the rest of the developing world.
And what, in your view, though, would you say are some of the most significant achievements of the Belt and Road Initiative over the last 10 years?
So the important takeaway from the BRI is that it provided an alternative source of development finance for poorer countries in the world, including in Africa. That is, finance that came with very little conditions, that was attempting to tailor to local needs and fill this infrastructure investment gap in countries. In other words, financing, unlike the World Bank or the African Development Bank, without conditionality, and also finance that was of a large scale. And also with that finance came expertise. Now, BRI MOUs have been signed in some 52 African countries. I think that's most of Africa. And, you see an amazing spread of projects. Some projects are, though, concentrated in the countries that have commodities and also our export platforms, perhaps somewhat leaving out a bit the smaller ones. And there are good and sort of projects that are perhaps less impressive. The good projects obviously include things like the Djibouti port investment of $350 million, which is being managed now by China Merchant Ports, and will transform Djibouti into a key transshipment and manufacturing and port center. Perhaps a bit less impressive is the light railway connecting Addis Ababa to Djibouti, which was launched in 2015, which has had slow progress in startup, but also maintenance and other issues that have plagued it. So it's a mixed picture, but with some successes. And going forward, the new 8 areas that President Xi talks about will make an impact on the BRI, and one hopes that this will come on stream very quickly through China's policy banks and consultants and others that may be involved in implementation.
And going forward, though, how is the BRI likely to impact the global development agenda?
So the developing world, indeed, the world economy is at a crucial juncture. We could be in a world of slow growth with increasing tensions, and there is a dire need for infrastructure finance, but infrastructure finance that is of higher quality, and also with integrity and also environmental sustainability and technological progress built in. And I think that's what the new vision for President Xi offers. And it's appropriate that 10 years after the initiative, a reset is done. And I think that's precisely what's required. I think the capacity building and integrity platforms are particularly important in Africa and other countries as countries begin to work forward. And in that, my small plea would be that a lot of emphasis is placed on cost-benefit analysis of projects so that we really know what the net benefits while looking at the costs properly, and that these are factored in. And then this important issue which China does very well of industrial and infrastructure master planning, which is critical for countries to understand what it takes to build infrastructure on the scale and the capability that China has done itself within China and also in Southeast Asia. And that's what my dream would be for the BRI going forward.
Indeed. Ganeshan Wignaraja joining us there from Colombo with that update. Thank you.